Hi friends, welcome to the Story Highway, where emotions travel farther than words. Today's story is called The Letter Beneath the Door. In a quiet neighborhood in Portland, Oregon, lived an elderly man named Mr. Walter Reeves, a retired postman known for his kindness and his morning habit of feeding stray cats near his porch. For years, Walter lived a quiet, simple life in his wooden house with faded blue paint and a small garden his late wife, Helen, once loved. But one chilly November morning, something unusual happened. As he stepped outside to collect his newspaper, Walter noticed a white envelope slipped under his door. There was no name, no address, just his house number, written in neat handwriting. He thought it was some lost mail, or maybe a mistake, but when he opened it, his heart skipped a beat. Inside was a single line that read, "You forgot to deliver one letter 40 years ago." Confused and slightly shaken, Walter sat down, staring at the paper. He had delivered thousands of letters during his service as a postman, and the thought of missing even one seemed impossible. But something about the message felt personal, almost haunting. The next morning, another letter appeared under the door. This time, it said the letter belonged to her, the one who always waited. Walter's hands trembled. Memories of his youth returned. A woman named Margaret Allen, who used to live on Willow Street, just a few blocks away. She was kind, always waiting by her porch for a letter that never came. And Walter remembered that he once promised to deliver something important for her before she left town, a letter from her fiancé, who was in the army. But that letter was lost during a heavy snowstorm, and he never told her. Days later, she moved away, and he carried that guilt quietly through his life. Now, decades later, these mysterious letters had found him again. Who was sending them? How did they know? He couldn't sleep that night, his mind swirling with old regrets and questions. The next morning, another letter arrived. This one contained an address, 41 Willow Street, and a small note that said, "It's time to deliver it." Heart pounding, Walter opened his drawer and pulled out an old box that had sat untouched for years. Inside was the yellowed, unopened letter he had once failed to deliver. Still sealed, still waiting. He didn't know what he would find at 41 Willow Street now. Perhaps the house was gone, or maybe someone new lived there. Still, something inside told him he had to go. The sky was gray, and soft rain drizzled as he walked down the familiar road, leaning on his cane, memories flashing with every step. The houses looked different, newer, but when he reached the end of the street, he saw it. The old white gate of 41 Willow Street still stood, though covered in vines. As he approached, a young woman opened the door. "Can I help you?" she asked kindly. Walter hesitated, then said, I think this belongs here." He handed her the aged letter. She looked at it curiously, then gasped when she read the name on it. "Margaret Allen. She was my grandmother," she whispered. Walter felt tears fill his eyes. "I was the postman who never delivered her letter," he said softly. The young woman invited him inside. They sat by the fireplace as she carefully opened the envelope. Inside was a handwritten letter from Margaret's fiancé, William, written from the battlefield in 1943, telling her he would be coming home, that he loved her, and that she should wait for him under the willow tree. But fate had other plans. William never returned, and Margaret spent years wondering why he never wrote again. Walter realized that by losing that one letter, he had unknowingly changed 2 lives. The young woman smiled through tears and said, "My grandmother always said there was one letter that never found her. Maybe it just took a little longer to arrive." As Walter left the house, the rain stopped and a ray of sunlight broke through the clouds. He felt lighter, as though a burden he had carried for years had finally lifted. That night, for the first time in decades, he slept peacefully. But in the morning, when his neighbors came to check on him, they found him sitting on his chair near the window, a soft smile on his face, the morning light touching his wrinkled hands. On the table beside him was one final envelope, addressed simply, "Delivered, at last." And maybe, somewhere beyond time, Margaret and William finally met under that willow tree, their story complete, their love delivered. So, friends, today's story reminds us that sometimes life gives us a second chance to set things right, even if it takes a lifetime. This was The Letter Beneath the Door. If you like this story, please like, share, and subscribe to The Story Highway for more emotional tales that touch your heart and stay with you forever.